Today, women live in a dangerous world. As women, we constantly change our behavior to avoid violence. We avoid traveling solo. We avoid taking a cab late at night. We avoid running on our own in a park. We avoid entering a wagon late when there are only men in it. We change our behavior because we know the threat is constantly out there. Is it okay to live in fear? Is it okay to be in a world where half of the population is actually afraid of the other half? Walking in the street as female is a constant threat. There are different projects like Pay Tachnek in France or Everyday Sexism in the UK, which crowdsource different experiences of street harassment, showing that it's not an isolated phenomenon. In the US, 77% of women under 40 report having been followed by one man or a group of men in the past year. In France, 100% of women report having been harassed in the public transportation and doubt that anybody would intervene to help them if that happens. Imagine the anxiety that is constantly at the back of our heads. Imagine the impact in terms of depression, of self-esteem. And this is not only in the street, this is also at work. In the EU, 75% of women in a leadership position have experienced some form of sexual and work harassment. In the military, women have more chance to be raped by a fellow soldier than to be killed by enemy fire. In the US military, 28% of women have been raped by a fellow soldier, but none of those who report this have kept their job. This is from the amazing documentary, The Invisible War. On campuses, on universities, another documentary called The Hunting Ground shows that 1 out of 5 of college women will experience rape or attempted rape on their time of the campus. These are crazy figures. And the cost is tremendous. We're talking about a cost of more than $8 trillion overall for all the society. And we really talk about double standards because this global pandemic does not have the funds and the spendings that it deserves. When we look, for example, at the casualties of US military in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001, we're talking about 6,000 to 7,000 people. American women who have been killed by their partner since the same date amount to the double of it, 12,000. And still we have spent more than $3 trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So we really have different sets of priorities. And this violence is not only in the street, not only at work, not only at home, but it's also online. Now this kind of harassment is converting in what is called cyberbullying. Women receive more hate speech, more rape threats, more blackmailing than men, and that prevents them from saying what they want and what they have to say online. They are more victims of what is called revenge porn, when some men use their naked pictures to actually blackmail them or shame them online. Or they also more stalked by all the possibilities that the technology offer. So we are faced with a global pandemic where 1 out of 3 women around the world will be beaten or abused by our partner. And yet, we're not talking about it that much. And why is that? Well, because we live in a culture that actually is pretty tolerant towards violence against women. We live in a culture where the gods we've been revering in the Greek mythology, for example, are all rapists. Zeus, Apollo, Hephaestus have all committed massive rapes. The foundation of of Rome is based on the rape of the Sabines, because there were not enough women in Rome, so we had to abduct them from the neighboring village. And even when we read The Art of Loving from Ovid, it's written black and white that no means yes. Power is associated with sexual domination. And women, through stories like Eve, for example, in the Bible, are associated with lies. So this is why sexual offenders walk free. We have men like Dominique Strauss-Kahn, Klaus Kinski, Roman Polanski, Bill Cosby, who actually commit different sexual offenses, but still walk free. What does it say to women about their testimonials? What does it say to women about their experience? It says it doesn't matter. It's not important enough. Because when we look at the facts, only 2% of the rapists are convicted. 2%. Imagine if you would commit a crime, you have only 2% of chance of ending up in jail. Why wouldn't you do it? So a lot of articles show that rape is not linked to male predatory sexual behavior or any natural urge to satisfy their needs. It's actually linked to power, to the sense of entitlement, and to the idea that if you do it, nothing will happen, and most of the blame will be on the victim. We'll ask the victim, what were you wearing? What were you drinking? What were you doing at that time? And didn't you say yes before? Did you change your mind? And are you sure you're not lying when actually only 2 to 8% of rape allegations are false? So victims don't want to say anything, and that's why many of them have waited years and decades before saying anything, with the cost that it has on them in terms of, again, self-esteem and depression. So this culture is a culture that is massive and it goes all around us. It's movies portraying gender violence as if it was not a big deal. It's politicians like the US president talking about sexual violence and then dismissing it as saying it's a locker room talk. It's songs like Blurred Lines, I Know You Want It, that we keep hearing, and that says that the lines are actually blurred between yes and no. It's the ads like Dolce & Gabbana or Calvin Klein who glamorize sexual violence. It's the jokes about rape. It's the different expressions that we use in the common language. This is a pyramid. The language and the jokes, the most insignificant things in the day-to-day life in our words, actually have an impact on us. They shape our world. And they back up stereotyped gender norms. And they backed up harassment. And they backed up rape. So we need to work at the bottom of the pyramid to make a powerful change. Because now we still live in a culture that tells women not to get raped, that tells women that they have to change their clothes, that they have to change their behavior, that they have to be careful. But we don't live in a world that teaches boys and men that they don't have to rape. And it's proven that even in terms of war, if the commandment is actually very strict on any rape and sexual violence committed by the military, it does not happen. But if the commandment is actually tolerating it, as it was done in Bangladesh and as it was done in Japan and as it was done in Bosnia, rape happens. So the best deterrent for sexual violence is actually to criminalize it and to be serious about it. It's pretty sad to see that no matter the figures that I've given and no matter the impact that it has, is still seen as an anecdotal and isolated environment and phenomenon. We don't take it as seriously as it is because it doesn't matter that much. So if we keep the faith, what can we do about it? The first thing we can do is education. Change the education. teach our boys and our girls about consent. There's this beautiful video about comparing consent with tea and showing that we would never force somebody to actually drink tea, even if they said they would like tea 2 minutes ago and then they change their mind when they're at home. You would not give them tea forcefully, and sex is the same. So we need to teach boys and girls about consent. We need to teach boys that no means no. No matter what happens, no matter what the girl says, no matter what the girl wears, no matter if she passed out or if she's completely drunk, no means no. And until there is a yes, it's not a yes. So we need to raise our sons differently. We need to raise our sons to believe that they're not entitled to women's bodies, even if it's their girlfriend. We need to raise our sons to respect intimate space. We need to raise our sons to not stare, and not so much to teach girls to avoid stares. We need to teach our sons to be men that are not to be feared by us. And then there are many other initiatives. In Jordan, She Fighter is teaching girls self-defense so that they can intervene in case of assault. Different technological apps help in case of assault, like Roar, Safety Pin, Callisto, and the Circle of Six, which can alert immediately people around you. There are different initiatives as well, which are about speaking up. Right? Would it be slut walks? Would it be 1 billion rising, which are 1 billion women dancing against violence against women? There's the campaign in India called Ring the Bell, Bell Bajao, which shows different people hearing domestic violence going on and who just ring the bell and go and ask for milk or cell phone or anything, just to disturb the pace of the violence and say, I'm here, I hear what's going on, I'm a witness. So this is so embedded in us that we really need to challenge our whole behavior. We need to change the way we talk, we need to challenge our insults, our expressions, we need to challenge the movies we watch, where the hero gets the girl by harassing her or stalking her or coercing her. We need to challenge the movies and the music we listen to. We need to challenge, again, what we teach our boys and what we teach our girls, so that we manage to destroy this rape culture and finally create a nurturance culture. Because, as Benoit Gros says, feminism never killed anybody, but machismo kills every day. So if you're neutral in a situation of oppression, you actually chose the side of the oppressor. So now it's time to do something.